everyone and welcome back to my channel. Again, I've decided to take myself outdoors. I'm also using one of my photography lenses on my camera, so hopefully this is all lovely and not blurry, but we'll have to see. So today I'm doing the Unpopular Opinions book tag. I've been tagged by a couple of people off BookTube, so I thought I'd get round to doing it. Quick disclaimer before we get started, obviously all these opinions are my own. It's not intended to insult anybody, you know, these are just my opinions. It's just a little bit of fun really. Just going to say as well before we get started, there are a couple of questions in this that I don't actually have answers to, and I think that's probably because a lot of these questions are geared a little bit towards YA, and I don't read that much of YA anymore, and I don't particularly enjoy it that much, so there's a couple of questions that sort of relate to that I have no answers for. The questions that I do have answers to, I try and get a couple more books in just to sort of bulk out a little bit. So let's get started. So the first question is a popular book or series that you didn't like. Now the first one is a book that I've previously mentioned as not liking earlier on my channel, so I'll only talk about it very briefly, but that's We Were Lies by E. Lockhart, and I thought that it was pretentious and silly. I didn't understand it in the sense that I didn't understand the reason why it was written. I think the writing style was very stylistic and it's not personally my sort of taste, so I didn't enjoy that either. I didn't like any of the characters, and a lot of times I enjoy books when the characters aren't particularly nice people, but I thought they were just written in a way that they were very inaccessible, and I think possibly the best part of YA is the relatability, especially if you're a teenager or a young adult. I don't remember anything about it now. I can't tell you like any of the characters or how it ends, how it begins, anything. It just went straight out of my mind because I just really didn't like it at all. The second, and I'm a little bit worried about showing this because I know this is going to break a lot of my friends on BookTube's hearts. I really don't like To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Again, sort of like We Were Lies, I didn't find anything interesting in this. The themes of racism and race and family I think are really important, and I think there's some fantastic sections in this book, but I don't enjoy the writing style. I think it's quite bland and then a little over dramatic. I think the character of Scalp is really irritating. I didn't take anything from it. I thought that maybe it was because I was forced to read it while I was doing my GCSEs, but I tried to read it like a year ago and couldn't get through it. Yeah, I'm really sorry. If anybody can enlighten me as maybe a way I can read this again and enjoy it, let me know, but yeah, I really don't like this book. The second question is a popular book or series that everybody else doesn't like but you absolutely love. The first one is down to quite a lot of YouTube book reviews that I've seen that have really not liked this but enjoyed her second book, and that's The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. I have this beautiful original edition, and all the text is blue. I don't know if you can be able to see that, hopefully. And there's like these little inserts of like writing and things. It's just stunning, and it feels so much like a secret diary, and I think that's the point. I don't like how they've recovered this to match the other one. I don't like it at all. I think this is an absolutely incredible book. I remember reading this at like 14 years old and it absolutely changed my life, and I think that people have given this a bad rep and I don't really know why. I really like this. For a YA, this is so good. Secondly is one of my favourite authors of all time. It's his most recent book and it has had really shitty reviews, and that's The Rest of Us Just Live Here, Patrick Ness. I think this is genius. I love the concept of this. It's so meta and I don't think a lot of people grasped it at all. I was on Goodreads and there are so many 1-star reviews for this and I think it's so good. It's basically sort of a superhero book, but at the start of each chapter you get a little bit of insight into what's going on in the superheroes' lives and how they're saving the world, but then the rest of the chapter is dedicated to the people that are just living in this city that have to deal with these superheroes blowing up their school, and it, you know, instead of it being this huge event like it is in, say, the Avengers or Marvel Comics, it just pisses them off. I think that the reason people don't like this so much is because nothing happens, in the sense that, you know, this is their everyday lives and nothing is supposed to happen. He writes such clever books. I love this so much. So the third question is a love triangle where the protagonist ends up with the wrong person. This is one of the questions that I don't have an answer for. I don't think I've ever read a book in my life where there's been a love triangle, so to speak. So yeah, don't have an answer for this one, unfortunately. Question 4 is a popular genre that you barely ever reach for. Mine will probably definitely be romance. At the moment, like I've mentioned a few times, YA as well. I'm just not feeling it right now. I don't have a specific genre that I really enjoy, sort of whatever really. Question 5 is a beloved character that you just don't like. I have 2 answers for this. First I've already mentioned, but that's definitely Scalp from To Kill a Mockingbird. I think she's so incredibly annoying and so pretentious, and such an obvious mouthpiece that she doesn't feel real to me. Secondly, this is sort of an odd one, but I am a huge fan of Stephen Hawking, so obviously The Theory of Everything came out and I went to see it, but before I'd seen it I'd actually read this, which is Travelling to Infinity, the true story behind The Theory of Everything. I absolutely hate Jane Hawking so much. I can't justify her reasons. Like, I understand where she's coming from with some of the things she does. If you haven't seen the film or read this, then I don't really want to spoil anything, but I can't quite justify the actions that she takes, especially towards Stephen. I live with a disabled parent, and from my perspective, like, I just cannot justify what she does, and I think she writes about it in quite an insufferable way. Yeah, I know that's a little bit of a strange one because she's a real person, but just instantly, as soon as I read this question, this book definitely sprung to mind. Question 6 is an author that you just can't seem to get into. I'm definitely going to have to go with Hank Kang on this, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. So we'll start with Human Acts. So I read this for the book buddy-a-thon, and none of us really loved it. We all enjoyed it to a certain degree. I thought the writing was quite disjointed, as did we all. I thought the topic that it dealt with the student uprising was very interesting, something I knew absolutely nothing about. But I just didn't like the way it was portrayed. Brittany and Chelsea both recommended that I still read The Vegetarian, so I went along last week to London and picked up The Vegetarian, and I'm about 20 pages in, and I don't particularly like this either. I actually dislike the writing style more in this. I am going to continue with this because it's very short. It's not going to take me long to read anyway, and the concept to me is really interesting. We'll have to see, I'm afraid. Question 7 is a popular trope in books that you're tired of seeing. I don't really have an answer for this either, but I'm going to take this as sort of a broader topic and talk about something that is really irritating me at the moment, especially in the YA genre. This is just an example. This isn't a particular culprit. I haven't done much research into this book specifically, but this is The Art of Being Normal by Lisa Williams, and this deals with the topic of being transgender. Now, I think it's very obvious that a lot of books at the moment that are coming out almost every month to do with LGBT, especially transgender, are doing it because it's popular. It's really pissing me off that these authors have the audacity to not do their research and think they can write about a transgendered character like they understand it. Now, let me just get something straight. There is absolutely nothing wrong with writing an LGBT character, even having it as your protagonist in your story. If you're not in the LGBT community, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's much better to have supporters. But when they don't do any research about it and think that it's fine to just write down what they think or what they've read on like a Google page, is so unbelievably aggravating to me. And it's current, and it's a current topic in current affairs, and people think, oh, it's so cool to have a transgender character, let me just write one in, even though I know absolutely fucking nothing about it. There is such a small amount of voice for the LGBT community, especially transgender, and then when they're represented improperly or even derogatory in some ways. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I think I'm going to make a separate video all about this topic. Let me know in the comments if you're interested. This really matters a lot to me, and hopefully it matters to a lot of you guys. Question 8 is a popular series that you have no interest in reading. Again, I don't really have much to say about this. I'm never going to read Divergent, The Hunger Games, The Maze Runner. I'm not interested in the slightest. I have no interest in reading The Lord of the Rings, unfortunately. I think the films are really good. Just don't like reading about characters so many times. I much prefer standalones or even duologies, you know, when you read about them for a short amount of time, and that's that whole thing wrapped up nicely. The saying goes that the book is always better than the movie, but what do you disagree with that? What TV adaptations or films do you think are better than the books? I'm not going to talk about this too much because I do have a video coming up soon on book to movie adaptation discussion. I study film at university, so I have a little bit of knowledge in this area. I've just done a whole semester on adaptation and what it means to adapt text into screen, and I've got some theorists and things, and I'd be really interested to share that with you. I'll just give you a quick rundown of a couple of films that I think are better than the books. I think this may come as quite a surprise to a lot of people, but I think the film of The Martian is a lot better than the book. I love both. I think they're both really good, but I think maybe it's because I love Matt Damon so much. But I love the film so much. Already previously mentioned, but definitely The Theory of Everything. I much prefer the film. I did enjoy this again, but obviously Jane Hawking I found, like I said, a little bit insufferable, so I enjoyed seeing it from nobody's perspective. I mean, the film is sort of geared towards Jane Hawkins' perspective, who's played excellently by Felicity Jones. But you know, it is really about Stephen Hawking, so it's not too personal to her. So I did enjoy that. The other one, which I was just looking around for, but I realised I've used to prop up the camera, is Gone Girl. I did read the book second, which is something I'm going to discuss whether that makes a difference. In this case, I think it did, but I think the portrayal of Amy in Gone Girl, played by Rosamund Pike, was like twice as good as the book. I did enjoy the book again, but I just think that the film is so good. It's one of my favourite films of all time. David Fincher is one of the best directors working today. He's excellent, and his portrayal of this film was just insane. So that's everything. Thank you all so much for watching. The sun is setting, so that means it's time for me to go. If you've got any questions or comments or anything you want to share, please let me know down below, especially on the topic of the tropes in YA, transgender, LGBT, that sort of thing, if you're interested. And yeah, I hope you all have a lovely week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!